So Ben, we'll start, and we'll start with a song first.
Yeah, if you want, yeah.
Give us a blast there.
In the year of our Lord 1806, we set sail from the spare coast of Carl, and we were sailing away with a cargo of bricks from the Grand City Hall of New York. Had an elegant craft, she was rigged fore and aft, and know how the wild winds rove her. Yes, ever bless had 27 masts, and they called her the Irish Rover. They was Barney McGee from the banks of the Lee, there was Hogan from County Tyrone, and there was Patsy McGurk, he was scarce stiff at work, and the chap from Miss Mead called Malone. Now there was Slugger O'Toole, he was drunk as a rule, and Wild Bill Tracy from Dover, and your man Mick McGann from the banks of the Bann was the skipper of the Irish Rover. Now we had sailed 7 years when the measles broke out, and the ship lost its way in the fog, and this way down the crew was reduced down to 2, himself and the captain's old dog. Then the ship struck a rock, oh Lord what a shock, and it turned the boat right over, turning 9 times around, and the poor old dog was drowned. I'm the last of the Irish Rover. Well, in the year of our Lord 1806, we set sail from the spare coast of Carl, and we were sailing away with a cargo of bricks from the Grand City Hall of New York. Had an elegant craft, she was rigged fore and aft, and know how the wild winds rove her. She had several lass, had 27 masts, and they called her the Irish Rover.
Thanks very much, Ben. So, just to start, what we do with all the interviews, first of all, thanks very much for doing it. But what we do for all the interviews is we get you to talk a little bit about your family, where they came from, their background, who your father's people were, who your mother's people were. So, would you mind if we start there, Ben?
No problem, yeah. My dad was originally from Stradbally. He came from a blacksmith family and moved down to just outside Carrick-on-Shore, where my mother lives. She was a wall from Carrick-on-Shore, and the great Republican family as well. But he started work. He travelled around the country. That's the way at the time the blacksmiths, they would learn their trade by travelling to different places, and mostly kind of where there would be horse. There was horses there all the time that time for farming and for racing, whatever. So the farrier was probably the most popular trade because everyone needed a farrier at that time. So we met my mum then in Carrick-on-Shore, and they got married, and that's where I was born. I taught originally because my address was Carrick-on-Shore, County Tipperary on the address, and I taught for years and years that I was from Tipperary. But I found out when my mum died that she was actually Kilkenny woman, and so I went. It was a big experience to find out after all those years, and after kind of shouting against Kilkenny, and I thought I was Waterford, but I worked in Waterford. So that I was eventually from Kilkenny. My address was, my birth cert was Kilkenny. So that's that. And I moved into Corrimore Estate when I was 6 with my dad. He took up residence in Corrimore itself. There was huge horses up there. They sold horses for the, say for instance, for the Newmarket sales at the time. It was a big sales for a big money making venture for the Corrimore Estate. They also had farming land, and a lot of the blacksmiths' work at the time would be to do with farming and the farm machinery. And then also being a blacksmith at the time, there was no welding material. There was no welding. There were studs, and then they roasted the iron, and the studs went through. That's what formed. There was actually no welding, so it was a lot harder trade at the time. Now you can get a pair of shoes. Also for the shoes for the horses, he'd buy lengths of steel, and then he'd bring them home. He'd buy the steel in Carrick-on-Shore, and then they'd bring them to the forge, and they cut the steel to fit the size of the horse's hoofs. So that's probably where when in later years I joined the glass factory, where the kind of the love of the craft came from.
And just from as a child watching your father, what was that like?
Brilliant. The forge was like, and there was forges in nearly every town in Ireland that time as well. So the forge was a place everyone met up, and as I said, the way they done the shoes, they burned, like they had to fit them to the hoofs. So the burning of the hoofs was a great smell, in the farm, and the bellows, no electricity then obviously, so they lit the fire by just coal, and that was fueling the bellows, and and the forge was the place to meet. Everyone met at the forge, like, yeah.
So you had lots of chats going on.
Yeah, lots of chats, yeah, and nearly. And there was, for instance, everyone. If a guy bought a horse to the forge, there was always nearly a dog with a horse. There were great mates of dogs. Even now you see them in different films where the horse. But I have a particular relic of one of those visits by the farmer to the forge with the dog, and he brought a terrier this time with him. And it seems what he was eating, I barely remember this, but I had the scar to prove that I caught the dog by the tail, and the dog, it wasn't the dog's fault, but I frightened the dog, and he turned and caught me when my mother came out. He was shagged by the face he had me caught. So the scar is still there, and there again, there was no phones, there was no cars, so I just had to patch it up, and so the scar kind of stayed with me. It was a memory of those times, great days. Yeah.
And then, what was it like then to be on the stage with the Lord and all that crap?
Yeah, when we moved, actually, I always remember, it was Halloween 1960, we moved to Corramore, and it was Halloween night, and it was kind of scary. Corramore, they had famous stories of hauntings and curses and that, and we kind of knew them before we went, so a bit scary place to live, but brilliant, just absolutely. And for instance, Corramore then had a farmyard, they had a pheasantry where they bred the foals from Newmarket, and then they had the main big house it was, and the polo ponies. Okay, it was a famous place for polo ponies. They trained polo ponies and sold them at big money to mostly to South America, and then you're involved in all that. And then when I grew up in Corramore, for the summer, for the school holidays, I could get work there by cutting the grass around the trees. Simple jobs, but jobs that brought in a few extra shillings that would help in the house. Like it wasn't just spent or whatever. You had to hand it up, and then you got your school books for that. And also a big thing was picking blackberries to get the money for school. It was very, very, and then the money wasn't like in banks and that. There was one woman I remember in particular, Mrs. Brophy in Portlaw, a lovely lady, still alive. And that was her shop, and a lot of villages and towns had shops where you could pay for them at the end of the week. Great part of the history of Ireland that I remember well, and every county with the same thing. You lived a simple life, yeah, but you lived a simple life, but you had work, and then you had the tannery, Portlaw Tannery, then where some of my family worked, and then which was originally the cotton mills, going back the years, the cotton mills, and the Malcolmsons owned this particular cotton mill. But they sided with South in the Civil War against the cotton mills. I was recently in America this year, and I visited where the cotton was made. And it's amazing to be on those sides of the world and be tied in with a cotton mill that supplied Corramore and Portlaw with the cotton. Just great history to go to, yeah. And also then the tannery in Portlaw had things that I play music in Germany where they used the steel for pumping out the coal mines, and there again you're in another country far away, tied into Portlaw. Great history with Portlaw, Corramore, and even the famine goes back to the time when we had never had a problem during the famine, because there was always work, not big work but good work, that people were able to survive, and people came down to the west of Ireland then, and they had some work as well.
And how did you get into music?
Music, I think my dad played an accordion, and not great, because when I meet the accordion players later on, I said, I wonder was he playing at all. It was just a recording he had under the box, as they call it. But yeah, there's always, but in at the time in Ireland, the simple life, and they would sing songs or great, everyone knew songs. I still do, which is amazing. People are amazed when they come to Ireland now, even that everyone seems to know a song, and that was passed down from generation to generations. Even the lilting that sometimes I used to show people when people had no money to buy instruments, they were able to keep dancing going by lilting for no cost. And they're amazed at that. But that's true, and that's where the tunes carried in by the lilting. People hadn't, so when they eventually got an instrument, they could remember the tunes that they heard on lilting. You know, very simple life. You know.
Give us a lilt.
Just going to. Dum dum
Hey!
And that's a lilt, and you could dance to that. You can imagine yourself dancing. If you had a few pints in your little early now and you go up the bar, you'd be tapping the feet. And that's just because people hadn't the money to buy instruments as such. Penny whistle, that's where I got the name, the cheapest instrument you could get. And now the same whistle could be costing €200, €300 for the penny whistle, as you call it then, you know. That's the way it evolved, yeah.
And then how did you get the guitar then?
Guitar then, I said, I play sport time, and I loved listening to music, but I hadn't time to play music as well. You either played one or the other. I know great guys they were great playing hurling in school, but they start playing music early. So then you're minding your fingers if you're a musician. Because I know one guy I played a match one day and he said, Ben, it's only a challenge match, so look, we'll keep it kind of easy. And you know, he was one that said, don't hit me, whatever, you know. And I wouldn't have done it, but the guy alongside me hit him. And Cutty, he was a singer, and he played kind of harmonica as well. So he was out of action for both singing and playing. So minded you had I broke breaks from my fingers, so I didn't go to music until later on in life, as opposed to guys that would be really good to start when they're young.
So were you a handy hurler then?
Yeah, I had the privilege of playing on a great team. Port Law was my team in where I lived, and in the 70s we were probably like the Ballygunners now, or the Mount Simons later on, you know. So Tom Chasty was one of my teammates, and he's a legend in hurling, and play with Tom, and we all kind of played for this county at that time. We'd all played. Another friend of mine, John Gallen, was an amazing hurler, and he had two all-stars, which is unusual for a kind of county that wouldn't be doing that well, you know. So no, I loved playing the sport, and
what position did you play?
My cornerback was my main position. Yeah,
you were tough then.
I was told I was, but I think I was. I always shook hands before the match and after the match, and I'd be hoping most lads did that. Some players kind of kept it to heart, and maybe, but in general, that's what a great game. And so I had some great years.
And was Port Law kind of a tough place then, bro?
It wasn't, because there was so much work there. It's what makes some places tough now. Maybe people don't get work, so they're a bit bored, and you could have that. You need when you're working, you have to aspire to, and if you cause trouble outside of work, you obviously you're not going to be kind of employable as such. Like now, if you're and even like talk about Facebook now, you have to behave yourself on Facebook, because if an employer is looking for someone, straight away you can go to the modern thing up as Facebook and get the kind of good lowdown on the players. I know lads that had good jobs, and they were saying one, he's in local in town, Waterford, and he just picked a thing that, you know, that off the Facebook and eliminated about 4 out of the 8 guys before even talking to them. They knew it. So that's why I've been probably always telling people, young people I know, be careful, you know, yeah. So I started work then in the glass.
Sorry, before you started in the glass, what did you know of the glass before you went?
I didn't know there was good jobs going in, and I think the fact that my dad was a craftsman, and then the glass was in its prime at the time, kind of in the 60s, 70s. And it's just something like I like to do. Even now I'd tried a bit of art and I love it again, but I haven't time to spend. I'm hoping sometime in the future. I just was fond of artists, people who create something with their hands, you know. And I've seen my dad doing it, and then my brother wanted to be a fisher, so it's the same thing involved with iron. Probably that's the reason I said man. So I wasn't too keen on horses or blacksmithing, because I've seen the way they can kick. And my father had some great memories of broken things, but so it was kind of to make a battle between the farrier and the horse for a while, and then you get to know one another, the respect one another. But for new horses, I've seen them getting some severe kicks and that, you know. So that thing didn't kind of appeal to me.
So what age were you when you went to the...
I was 15, and most people were 15 went into the craft section to be either blowing or cutting. Nearly every lad was 15 at that time. I started with Pat McGrath, the famous Waterford hurler, and Lish Heron, Tony Heron from another. I know the guys. I know the day we started, the last day in January 1969, the 4 of us. So we stayed good friends after that, you know. But at one stage in the factory, I started in Johnstown.
Oh, right.
I started in Johnstown, yeah, which was the old factory. Very cold and very kind of dilapidated, but then we quickly moved to Kilbarry, you know. But the memories of Johnstown still stay with me. I started with the old stone wheels and the old guys that were there since like through the factory nearly opened, you know. Great memories of Johnstown.
And then was Johnstown, was it kind of a, how long were you there before you moved?
I say it was 6 months.
Okay.
They were on the verge of moving that time, probably taking on young lads again to kind of, they had three, at the time, new factories in Kilbarry.
And you went straight into, you were a cutter.
A cutter, yeah.
And what was that like as an apprentice? What was it like?
As an apprentice, I can remember one at the very few days, you first go into a training school, as they call it, and then you learn to cut small basic things. But then I was put on a bench one day and I was a fellow called Toddy Carey, and Toddy was famous from Johns Park. But the guys they wouldn't be easy like to work with at the time because they're trying to put manners on you from being a young fella. And then so I remember cutting this bit of glass. It was a salt and pepper, very hard to see, and you're kind of looking through the glass, thick glass, and doing it wrong a few times. And then I remember one being thrown at me from about 30 or 40 yards. Now I was working on a wheel, I was spinning at this time, but 100 mile an hour, whatever the speed would be of a wheel, and this thing landed just alongside my wheel, right? But we had a kind of what's called a stone solid wheel, but the master cutters then had a rough wheel that would cut the glass first, previous to wood unit, and then we cut the stuff stone out, and then joined the points. That was our job to do as an apprentice. But I didn't realise that the guy that was starting this cutting, it was a rough wheel. And the least tip off the wheel, I'd break and it'd explode the wheel. So the master cutter realised kind of shortly that if I keeps throwing glasses trying to correct him. I threw one, I just missed the wheel. I threw one back, I thought we were having fun and having a bit of a laugh. But I didn't realise that the wheel that was thrown at, I most threw it at the master cutter and the wheel. And if that exploded, it could have destroyed him. So we came and think then that he doesn't throw glass at me and I don't throw glass at him. Quickly came to an understanding. Which was funny when you look back on it. Yeah.
And then when you were getting this apprentice, you wouldn't get paid much, would you?
No, you're down the training school, a very minimum wage. See, and because you may not have made it. I would say of the 6 guys that started, very soon there would be 4 of them gone. It was a very hard trade, and you grew quickly if you weren't the noise and then the constant cutting and the boredom. Just playing the boredom and just cutting simple stuff. You can get bored, the same thing every day. And I say, but 4, but I say there's so many left that I was seeing and they made them later on. But huge amount, just because of the way the trade was. And you had to be a certain mind. Probably like I said, I had a feeling for a skill after watching my dad. Like most people came in would be say dads would be carpenters or whatever. That we move on the skill end. But no, that's like I was thinking about that when you look back, there's quite a lot left. Yeah. You know.
So everybody went in.
Everyone went in, yeah. They got
a lot left.
A lot left. Yeah. Very fast, you know. Within a week, 2 weeks, they just kind of couldn't tackle it, you know. So, yeah. So that's that one, yeah.
And then, when did you kind of feel as if like this is what I want to do?
You'd know it fairly fast. I say within a week, you know, like you're liking this thing turning out well in front. You're cutting a star in a glass and looks well, you know. But it can be boring if you're doing say 200 or 300 a day, like you know, the same thing. But you knew that you want to move on to something else. And then it got more skillful, like as you moved on to bigger things. Have some glass, you know, you can see in the background there of the bigger and bigger things. And the 5-year board is an aspect of every bit of cutting you do. You pass the test on that, what the master cutter will see you do. And we had guys that would test the boards, would be senior cutters, you know, that would be teaching them.
So the 5 years was the mark, was it?
The 5 years is the mark. If you made it 5 years, you know, kind of, you know, if you had the patience to stay 5 years, or even a year, you would have been, you know, you're going to stay there.
And then you're on good money then?
Yeah, you're on good money. You're paid with a piece rate. There's always, and people always say, like, the glass factory, great wages and that. You started from nil on a Monday morning, and then the end of the week you handed in what you'd done. So if you weren't going to work, you wouldn't get a wage. There's some guys now that were amazing. They cut like a machine. They were that good. And they put out, say, double what money. Say if I was earning £200, they could knock out £400, right? And hand that in for the wages. Following, they start from scratch again the following week, you know. And then there's up they could make the same, or they might get bad glass that mightn't be. Some glass was easier to make money on when you cut it. And then they might get bad glass the following day, so their wages would go down. Where I might get better glass and it could bring up my wages. But mostly the guys, there's some guys there were just amazing cutters, and they could do that constant every week. And no matter what casting they finished, that they'd still make well.
And did you work on a table? Was there like 6 or 7?
Yeah, 6 on a bench we called it.
Yeah,
That's what they called the bench. And then they brought us 12 on the bench. They'd have 2 benches in the one go. And then they reduced it to 3 on the bench. I went all through all the system that 6. I never went to 12, but I was 6 then for years and years. Then they cut it down to 3 and 3 on the same bench. So they just divided the bench. And then they brought it down to single. So you just do your own class, you know. So that way.
When you were on the bench, did you all then help you? Like, for example, if you were a really good cutter, the fellas on the bench got the benefit of it.
Oh yeah. You would, and then you have to say, lads, look, you need to put in a bit more effort. That's what comes to that, and then so you have to you have to work as a team. Yeah. And if you don't, you make say, lads, I got the idea worker, you know. But that was fair, like, you know. And then if you weren't say you were sick and you weren't well, you'd be looked after by the team as well. But just if you kept going constant, you'd probably just call the boss and say, look, there's no point, you know. He just doesn't want to work, you know.
And then, what kind of a cutter were you?
I'd say, I'd say a kind of an good average cutter, I'd say.
Yeah, was there be things like, I mean, I don't know, I haven't got a clue, but like, you know, was there a difference between the wedge cutters and?
Well, there was wedge cutters and flat cutters, and the flat cutters concentrate on a glass on the end of the stem of the glass. It was all that, and the bigger pieces of flat where flat cutting would come into it as well, also. So I prefer the wedge cutting. I think the flat cutting. I had as much variety in the flat cutting. You know, even though it was fantastic and the boys were super workers, but you hadn't as much variety as you could do this. And I just said, I'm showing you some stuff earlier on that I had done over the years, and they would have been hard enough to do. But when you do them, then they're great satisfaction. And I brought stuff that I've made all over the world. Actually, I've travelled the world quite a bit playing music, and anytime I go, and nearly everyone, when I say crystal, water crystal. We probably don't have as much regard for when you give them a piece of water crystal, they're amazed because they know it's worldwide, you know. And in America, and like I played there, when you say you work in water crystal, I said, wow, you know, you still have that wow factor. You work there, you know. And my mum or my granddad had crystal, you know, in the say dad or whatever would be Irish originally. And when you see a piece of crystal, but bring something nice, you know.
Well, we didn't really appreciate it.
No, not to the extent. See, it's only when you really go away that, you know, it was always a lovely piece to get as a gift, right? But now even just, you know, but anyone that knows the history of crystal or have parents or something that were working in the crystal factory, because the amount of people went through. My dad worked and my grandfather worked there, you know, and it's still precious to them. You know, it is a precious piece of their memory. You know, and in America, the history of Ireland and that, and some might never have been in Ireland, but they'd make their business go over to seeing the crystal, and you know, it's great. It was great. Man.
And when you were cutting, then there was water running down. Was it?
Yes, water the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, just describe what it was like.
So like, you know, and you had to set up the wheel because the wheel had to be covered with water all the time, and it's very important because not have a splash in your face. You have to put the cloth on it properly, you know, and then. Otherwise, like, you'd be probably an example. Say now, health and safety is huge in the workplace for your ears and your different things. You know, that time just there was no masks for your inhaling. We're all afraid that we're inhaling God knows what from the mixture of the silica sand coming off the glass and the water coming out. You know, so it was it was always. And then if the rough wheel broke, then you're in trouble. And then also on the rough wheel, when you be sharpening it, you have to sharpen a piece of steel, just sharpen to make so it cuts through the rough part. But then there was every day, I say, you see 2 or 3 guys coming with a patch over their eye, because the sand just fly off the little stone. Happens over some jobs or whatever, and then you won't realise that during the night you feel this thing part of the outside your eye covering the stone. So then you have to go into the doctor that does with scalpel, optician. And that was regular, without a doubt. You see guys coming out with the patches. And then there was something they're forming overnight, so they have to scrape out with the scalpel. So then you have to cover that eye for about maybe 4 days a week. And they're back then again. And so my eyes would have all the scars if you could X-ray the eyes. So that's from scraping the bit of stone from your eye. You know. And then you're like tennis, but actually you're playing tennis. But your elbow's the main thing for the cut, and you're up and down, and you're in wet, so that wouldn't help the arthrosis type end of the covers elbow, you know. So just.
And how did you prevent boredom? Like, 'cause you must be doing it.
We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. So for example, now when I was working, there was 3,000 people working there, but in the sections you could have a sing song going, but 200 or 300 fellas singing. I'm saying whatever song would be out at the time being, you know. And then a lot of time fellas would make up songs of different things, and you'd get the words, and which was great crack, you know. And then the great social life, you know, going loads of things. Like so I was involved in the music, so you had the music, you had the sport, soccer, Gaelic football, hurling. We had teams about 20 teams in the factory. It's unheard of now. That doesn't happen anymore. And one of the main reasons would be the overtime in factories now. You just couldn't make and twice in my career in there, we went to the final of the Tops of the Town, which was a great musical competition between factories. So every factory had a singing Tops of the Town. And our glass show was always, and this show, you had to put an hour of a show together. So we went to the final twice, and it was on television. It's like the Late Late Show at the time. It was one of the biggest viewing on a Sunday night in the Gaiety Theatre. So the great story, history, great, and the social life, as well as the pubs after, obviously, because we had money, and because of the good wages, it was possible to go on holidays every year. Everyone was able to go on holidays, you know, and then every single business in town benefited from the glass factory, because there was good spending money. And people, you know, benefit.
But it was also a bit of resentment, wasn't it, towards because you were paid quite well.
Yes.
Now I know you had to work hard.
Yeah.
But there was resentment from other people in Waterford, wasn't there?
There was, and now they would be kind of people. I think now they'd be some of these people would be resentful anyway to anyone doing well or whatever. You know, could be the hurling team, it could be the soccer team, whatever. There's always resentful people around, you know, and I've come across them. And I've had several discussions, like the one we went over there earlier on that spoke about was starting from scratch on a Monday. You know, these guys are to be resentful. They wouldn't have the wage, but they wouldn't have the work we'd be doing. The work was like huge. You know, the blowers and the cutters down, and all the lads that supply them as well. You know, in the factory, they were all good workers because they had to keep going. That they were good workers. You know, but the blowers in particular, that's who's got the bigger wages, and the cutters. They had to make that wage. It wasn't just given to them. They come in as and do that and look good in the place. You know, you were there, bang, bang, bang. You know, and the more you kind of like you're aspiring to buy a new house, you know, and then them kind of things, and putting your families to college, say, you know, and the more you made, the more you got. But you started from scratch every week. That's your start. Nothing, you know, and then.
And was it weird then when tourists coming in and having a look at you?
Oh, it's some fun. Like when the time there was no health and safety, as I said, they'd walk through the benches, right? And I remember my niece and her friends coming from school one day. And the fun was I remember giving them the bowls I have up here at the top. They're L2 bowls. I gave them each a bowl going out before the tourist guide went off, and I presented them with a bowl going out. So then they'd be mayhem with the guy trying to bring him back on the bench to put back, because it wouldn't be my bowls because I was cutting my own bowls. The other guy on the bench, I give him from his selection on. And there's some fun thing. Like I remember we used to put kind of shoes under a pallet. And it's like as if the pallet was falling down on someone. And the Americans were saying, you know, there's someone under the pallet, this thing, you know. It was hilarious, you know, things went on.
So you were playing jokes on the
jokes, yeah, on the tourists, and then I remember giving some of them big wheels I was talking about. I gave them one each going out again, the 6. I had to leave the tourist guide go first because she couldn't, you know. She told them that you can't touch it. But halfway down, they'd be saying, Ben, that was the best guy ever, you know, and my God bless you, and the whole lot, you know, and we'd definitely come back. Then I seen being frog marched back on the bench again. So you could make up your own fun, like, you know. Yeah.
Security people.
Yeah, they wouldn't get as far as actually security, just get because the tour guide would have to bring it back, you know. But another, say, a joke I had where I worked in the tourist area for a while, where I show them, we stop and talk to tourists. That's when they couldn't go through the bench, so you give them some information. And there's a small bit of a job where there's some builders working in my place, but they went for their lunch break and they left the building hats where they were going to come back to collect them. So in the meantime, I was telling the guys, look, you're in a kind of a dangerous area now. You have to wear those with the tourists going through. And then I don't have enough for the 2 guides. And they said, how come that the tourists don't have, there's some American tourists with me, and how come they don't have to? I would have been told, no, it's because they had special insurance. When you're on guide, they have special covers them. It's only you like that to have. You're working for the factory. and then you're just kind of but that day, and about 10 tours went through. Then they came back, they were looking for my blood, but they're finding out, complaining why they made use the yellow helms. The guys had collected them in the meantime, so they weren't there either. No, it's a great lads, it's some great characters, great characters. Another great example, I mentioned him that I know anyone listened to this later on, was Derek Joy. And Derek worked with us just ahead of me, and he Monday morning for us, for everyone nearly, it was it could be a good or a bad day, because you could be out a good night before and not go to bed early. But Derek comes in, and one of the guys, he would be the second, he won the rough cutters. And one of the guys, he brought in a live crab from Ballyhack or Passage, and he put it in the bat before Derek started work. And it's called for Jimmy Haig, who was well known in Waterford as well. Jimmy passed him, and he threw part of his the tin that he used into the bat. So when Derek, he was obviously upset, and he was kind of shocked. The other guy ran off, but putting in his hand to get the pinchers, right, the crab caught him by imagine if you're on a hangover on a Monday morning and the crab grabs you by the hand. It was a live crab. We could see this thing. He was screaming like a nearly. He could have had a heart attack, Boys thought it was very funny. But then and myself included, we went down to teach Jimmy a lesson for nearly killing Derek. We took the inside of his upholstery in his car. He always drove a big car, and fitted the live crab in there. He was going to die anyway, And Jimmy got the smell coming in the car. It was getting worse and worse. No matter where he bought, they couldn't find the smell, So eventually one guy said, it must be behind the upholstery. So he found the dead crab that he put in poor Derek's. Derek nearly having a heart attack in the bath, but they found it then eventually. I think he sold the car about 2 or 3 weeks later. They couldn't get the smell out. Crab dead in the car for that goes into all the car. So that's kind of fun we had, yeah.
So it was kind of cruel as well as.
Oh yeah. To close something. Yeah, you hadn't went. No, you wouldn't get away with that now. You just wouldn't. You'd be sacked, or you'd be definitely get severely reprimanded. But it's kind of part of the thing of the town.
And was there a kind of I know you were working hard and you had to do some work.
Because then we had people checking the glass once before it left the bench, as we call it. They'd a woman checking the glass. Nearly always a lady checked the glass, and then it was pints weren't met. They'd mark it, so you had to go back over it. So you had to be, there's no point in cutting stuff and then to go back over it. You're going to lose the time that could be cutting another. So that gives you an extra incentive to have the quality, yeah. So, there was a long time of fun in there. There's one guy in there, he cut 3 times what I cut. But I knew that the glass couldn't be quality with that speed. So we reckoned he was at the corner of the Russian market and got paid some way to get it out. Maybe give him a little bit less for the glass. But I reckon the Russians just drink the glass and throw it over their shoulder to break it. Yeah. So we reckon we're full convinced that he was paying the girls that were marking the glass to leave it go, and the company were allowing the special mark, would just said they wouldn't be checking the glass too much because only drinking one and throwing the fire.
And then you were also in a band, weren't you? Yeah,
well I started then kind of late again, as I said. My hurling career was nearly over, and it was 78. And then I started in Pat O'Brien. Pat passed away a few years ago, 20 years ago. Tell you how time flies. And then Dennis Marr from Portlaw was well known again in the music scene, and we formed a band called Drops of Brandy. And I was explained there earlier on that that song was wrote by Pete St. John. And so he heard us in Dublin one night and asked us to sing a few songs. And within 2 weeks he had wrote that song, which became a big hit for us. And we used to play quite around the country, and then it was very, very big for us, give us great options on gigs and that.
And did you ever, you used to travel over, did you ever think of going full-time?
We were, but I think they were kind of on such good jobs like Tom Sullivan now, a great fiddle player from Tramore, joined us, and Tom was in the Guards. How he lost in the Guards I don't know, because we used to drop him home at all times of the night, and he was going to work earlier than we were. So I was in the glass, good job again. Brian was in social welfare, good job. And so it was kind of, it would have been a big gamble, and we're so kind of settled in that. But we were able to do, we played quite a lot in Wales and in England, a few gigs in England, we've done some on the continent. So we kind of decided to stay as kind of a semi-professional. So.
I suppose if you were young fellas now, it would be different.
Yeah. My son is a great musician. He's with a band, and for instance, now he's gone up to Roscommon on Friday night to do a gig, and then he's doing the Kinsale on Saturday. They're the kind of gigs we're doing, And so it's very hard. You need to be young. You can do it if you're young, but then anyone to tell you like they can, the energy to do it then, but no point in.
And then with the glass as well, I mean, there was also, it was very good from the point of view of supporting causes and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. For instance, the Little Sisters of the Poor, that we always on Friday evening outside, and when we went through a troubled period in our history and in the last year, they came every week to the factory and had the cakes and they had stuff, whatever you wanted. And they all appreciate every company that in Waterford came to us when we had a bit of, so we had the troubles and went through that thing, and they were so respectful, and so it was a pleasure for them. And even that's what you're saying about resentment towards us. They certainly, not one company resents us, and they came and showed their true colours, and then that Ant we can do, it was, so it was great, and then we had it was just good to see.
The glass workers used to support everything, didn't they?
Yes.
Any cause?
Any cause, yeah. Any cause. There are some cause now that were kind of outside of control there, but I remember actually at the time I was in it, but we had to go and march on the barracks there for another company. They had one of the boys. It wasn't just trying just to be decided like they were our mates as well. They were hard working men.
So it was a strong union.
Strong union, yeah. But a fair union, Well, there was never a strike there. There was just an old battle every now and again, but there wasn't a strike mentality in that company. They were great workers.
And yet people would say there was.
Yeah, they would say, because
false media.
False media, and then and even it's still kind of happening, and they're kind of blaming us for this thing, But it was unfair, that, and we took on issues and fought them, and then them issues carved themselves out. But we weren't going to leave people on their own, And so that's, to me, I work hard, and I think I'm fair to everyone, and a lot of friends. But if there's something happening, I've done it before, and so I won't go into now on this thing, but we support. I got support myself then when things, we that's the way to be. Respect people, and then when they're down, like the homelessness now. Some people say they don't need. But there's people losing their houses and they just can't. And look, and I know something be saying stuff you might know us, I'm sure you've never worked on me. But there were people that worked hard, and now they're with end trying to keep payments. The mortgage has gone up, all this thing, yeah.
And what about, the end and all that? I mean, would you feel, looking back on it now, do you feel very sad about the whole thing?
Yeah, I feel sad and I feel resentful also, because I feel sad that such a great and even apart from the workers, the glass factory workers, and I'm from Portlaw, I came from Portlaw, they came from Calrick, they came from Munkind, they came from all around. It wasn't just Waterford. These were all around Dungarvan before the Dungarvan factory opened, huge amount of people, and that kept, say when the tannery closed in Portlaw, there was still about a dozen or maybe 20 to 30 people from Portlaw working there, and did a good job, and they still were able to send their kids to school and whatever, So great crowd, and then from the, like I said, I play music, but from the historic side of it and from the tourist side of it, when people came, they loved to go see the glass factory, and so then when it happened, just in my opinion, kind of bad management. Because for an example, when we used to go to America, the people went over there as to demonstrate the glass and that. And nearly the common thing from all the big companies, Aldi, and not Aldi's, but there's a place called, from the companies in New York, was why can't we get the glass? They hadn't enough glass to sell. And then we took to kind of buying companies. I played quite a bit in Germany, and they bought Rosenthal, which wouldn't be, they have a glass like the Venice glass, colour glass. It wouldn't be our glass they'd be going for, and I knew that there. But student would have to buy it at a higher price, because when the Waterford Crystal were buying it had to be a higher price because they were such a good company. They bought maybe 10 million in Japan. They spent trying to start a factory. Our friend that tried to say it, Washert. So them two companies that I know of, and then they're buying this, and we tried to impress on them as guys that were left school at 15 that concentrate on the core product. And then Tony O'Reilly came with huge name from Heinz Corporation in America, and that was kind of way out there, buy companies. If you're doing well, buy companies, don't let the things stagnate. But we were, as guys that hadn't the same schooling as that, say, look, we know that if you concentrate on the core company and core business, Now we're Loudon Bryan. They brought in the duller glass, kind of a cheaper glass from the continent. We kind of had to. We're put to the wall in that one, and then they brought in the colour glass, you know. But none of them companies were given the same profit. We're just saying that we had such a big population working there that's why they brought in those. But they should better concentrate on the core companies. So huge loss to the tourism in Ireland. Like, you know, like we have the one that's great that is there and working. That's sort of potential at some stage is that a major company will take it over and go back maybe hopefully to the and employ more young lads. And
so you would have somewhere in the back of your brain like a glimmer of hope.
I would. Once it's there, I would. That's why I'd always say there's a glimmer of hope when it's just there. And sometimes some guy will come in and I'm hoping that if some affinity to Waterford and would be a multi-millionaire like the McManus or whatever Magna does, that would have an affinity to Waterford. Now we have millionaires. We have quite a lot of millionaires around. You know, even the hurling team like that, I'd be saying that there should be more millionaires supporting our hurling team at different times, you know. But like there is millionaires, but that you need the bigger kind of on the scale of McManus, you know.
That's interesting. Ben, would you mind finishing off with a song?
I would, of course. The one I said about Drops of Brandy, who wrote Peter St. John wrote it. And there's a great little story because I remember we were talking before. We're talking about what we would do, and Peter St. John was an amazing songwriter. And he could and I was up in the studio in Dublin, and they said, "Look, I was the singer, and Dennis Marr, who passed away recently there, unfortunately, was the other singer. So they asked would I sing a song and would Dennis sing a song. So I sang a song. I can't even remember because I was so disappointed the reaction I got to it. And actually, I would say the guy that the Riverdance. Bill Whelan said, "Ben, you sing first," so I sang it and Pete St. John was listening. So when I finished my song, which I thought I'd done well, Bill Whelan, with his good old Dublin accent, said to me, "Ben," he said, "don't give up the day job." You know. And then Dennis Marr went on to sing a song which was wrote by a guy called Pat Cooksey, who lived in Waterford. He was in the building end of that time. It's a song called "Our Reason Left Mullingar." Great song. And Peter St. John's said to him, I always remember saying, "But just Denny, you're a fair old chanter." I was like, a good name for a Dublin singer. "You're a fair old chanter. I'll write a song for you," he said. And within 2 weeks he had this song wrote. And it was a huge hit for us and made us popular in venues around the country. And so got gigs on the Late Show with 2 or 3 gigs. We were on the Search for a Star at the time. We got to the final Search for a Star, so we got with 3 gigs on that Late Show. And then we came back on the following year. I remember we were played with that song had gone done so well. With every television, SBB and he, Dremel said to him. But Dennis and Pat were fluent Irish, and I have a little bit of Irish, so we're on every show that they put on. So we had about 20 television shows from the back of this by Pete St. John, yeah. So song, and it's about Waterford and about the dock life in Waterford at the time, and the people I worked with, including the ladies of the night. So a song called "Drops of Brandy."
Now the raging sea and the rising river are peace in Waterford town, where the sailing ships caress the slips and the maidens never frown. There I met young Rancy Darrow, and her face was washed with rain, but her house was handy for drops of brandy, and I loved her all in vain. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. She said, "You are a randy sailor and you're looking for a towny one. Oh, tell your lies with brandy size till your time and tide were gone. But you can't be her and you can't be wiser, and she left me with the sun. Well, in Waterford town the girls don't frown till the brandy drops are gone. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. Now the raging sea and the rising river are a peace in Waterford town, where the sailing ships caress the slips and the maidens never frown. There I met young Rancy Darrow, and her face was awash with rain, but her house was handy for drops of brandy, and I loved her all in vain. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. Well, in Waterford town the girls don't frown till the brandy drops are gone. Up.
Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
Do you want to get, in that same shot, do you want to get Ben holding the piece of crystal?
Yeah, I got it.
Stay where you are.
Right,
So I'll
yeah.
hand them over to you and you can just make,
Yeah.
I'll take the camera.
Yeah.
Do you want to just maybe say a little bit about each one?
Yeah, so the kind of the bigger one first, and then maybe
Yes,
the
big
three.
one.
I said I'll do the other one then as one of our
This one?
work. So the kind of the name on it is called a set down piece or something. Where you're
Just from here, just
um,
for
that one, is it?
No,
On this, oh, okay.
Yes, we keep this as this one.
So are you ready?
No, one sec, we'll just,
So you're there. No, yeah. I'll do this, but and then show how he's holding.
He's trying to
yeah.
pass on.
So,
huh?
He's trying to pass on a few tips there.
Oh yeah. One of the lads done. See the dolphins on the wave.
Wow.
No, the song. That's and I cut the. I'll give you an example how we'd help them.
That's a very unusual piece for it. This doesn't look like water crystal, does it?
Yeah, no, it's just they're the kind of they'd be for say showrooms. Someone buy it as a kind of say if someone have a show, not showroom, kind of business like that, and they buy it for. Oh, who was in there one day? Ben Dunn was in there one day, and he saw the carriage, the horse and carriage. The Cinderella carriage, yeah. So he was there's Bengali heralding around. He said, oh, look at that. So, and he said, what's that? It's about 30,000, something crazy. Maybe 30, maybe something like that. And he said, I'm going to get that. He said, I have to ring my accountant first, I said, because I'm not allowed to do that. And he said, no, without signing for it and tell him what I'm getting it for. And I have to show him when it was up then. Because I have to think in America.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah. So,
Are you ready to go? Okay, so babe, you just tell the camera what each piece is.
yeah, well, this is called in the certain piece in the crystal it's called a special piece, and normally then the workers with the combination of the cutters and the design team and sometimes the blowers, the blowers obviously to blow it, and then we get it and do some cuts. We'll be told what cuts to put on it. So these would be the cuts here. And then the design team would work on it. This is called, it's a sea scene now. You can see the dolphins here are sailing the waves. And then you have here a dolphin going under the wave. You can see the tail here. So the tree up over the waves and going under the waves. And then you have the ship here. And these would be kind of like, say the ships that would have went to America, like the Dumbroli in Nuras. And this would be an example of people sailing who had never been on a boat in their life and sailing and seeing this. But like it would be frightening and then amazing at one time. So that's this one here. But it's a combination of the lads working together, the blowers from the start, the cutters, and then the flat cutting with the other stuff, and the designers. So it's I'd call it an amazing piece. One is called a special piece, and because of the work involved, they would be very expensive pieces. But the example, they might have these in the boardroom. They'd be a special, say, gift for the manager, say whatever, in the boardroom. But they would be a special piece in that type of that will be sold in that type of way. Okay.
And this one here is very unusual.
This one is it's three-dimensional, and all the work is done on the angle on the back. And this one is a lighthouse. We've done the lighthouse or the Paris, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and it's suited deadly to the cutting. You can see the lighthouse with the seagulls flying around it. And this was it was a special piece. With the guy I worked with from the start, the guy I threw the bit of glass at him, we became friends after. He made this famous because it wasn't a production piece. It's a piece we used to do ourselves. For example, the blowers would do this, blow the piece, and then I would cut it. And later on, I might give it to them. I would cut it for them. So we worked together on that. But they weren't production pieces. They were later on, I think.
So the workers would do this themselves?
Yeah, but this was kind of thing we had ourselves.
And like the swans?
And the swan also.
The swans would be also like
And these are kind of classed as after hours pieces. It means that when you're finished work, you could do these, And they were tolerated up to, from years and years. They were just special pieces that we done for ourselves for gifts to, say, for someone was coming home and like you hadn't the money at the time, whatever, you wouldn't have as much. But these gifts were priceless to people that got them. Yeah. So they were.
So it's a very Waterford thing.
Yeah, it's now a collector's item, Right.
And this one here was for your...
This is my 5-year apprentice bowl. And we're talking now about doing glass, some cutting getting born. But when you're doing something like this, every aspect of the cutting is on the glass. So then you'd have the guy that would be over at the training school. He would mark the bowls then, and if you passed this bowl, then you're then officially a glass cutter. Okay. But every aspect of the cutting, that the way cuts on the top here, you have to shape the glass. You get a white wheel, shape the glass all the way around. It's marked first, so you don't know where the mark comes out. Then you cut the other angle. You kind of the glass. You shape the glass like this. That's the way it works. The one on the end is standard, but you still have the design here. And then the very fine cutting here, if you couldn't pass it, had to be a certain size and go back the other way. So all aspects, this one here, the very small one here, kind of the star type thing on the end here, everything has to be perfect, or near enough to perfect. If you pass that, then you're on your way. You're qualified, then your wages goes up accordingly. If you're a fully qualified cutter.
And is this linked to your dad then?
Yeah, these were there as well, but I always loved these, and they're always in my family. If you got this, it's a horseshoe. So if you got this, like I could sometimes I give my dad this to hand to the whoever to be getting it, and he'd nearly tell him he was a good fellow for the stories. He'd tell me he made it himself, on the anvil. But I actually have my dad's anvil out the back, so that thing is worth a lot of money now because but it's nice to have part of what he had when he worked in the forge, and I got that before he went. Okay.
And then this is another one.
And here again, then
yeah.
So. Say for instance for confirmations or communion or someone most we got taught by the nuns. Most of the nuns I would like this, but any of the older generation I still have some prayer. Look this here. This has been brought home from Lures, so I put that there and so I still use the holy water and go to but the car. There's always something there. It's just in our genes,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and anyone older people now, especially to get that, they're just amazed,
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of beautiful pieces there. Is that from a tournament that you won or something?
No, this is actually a piece I got every year. Every year in the glass party, if you had high attendance, it was up to say 7 days. If you had 7 days, you got a piece of glass, right? So this is a piece I got. Oh fuck. It is a bad thing now.
Shit. There's someone. Oh my god, it must be something.
I feel that it's actually a trophy piece. So there's pieces going, and that's the best piece you can get.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that'd be one, and that's what I'm talking, every major trophy piece in the world at the time was Waterford Crystal. You had the Super Bowl, you had all the major tournaments. I'll show you some of the things now that have from photos of those, tennis, golf, all the major tournaments were Waterford Crystal. Yeah, that's the kind of exposure we had at the time. And it was huge. We're saying that the lads were in the Super Bowl at that show, and that would be one the size. But I got one that was obviously left over from, and they put in a few of those. You get smaller all the way down. Then that was picked around the top. Your name went in, yeah. So there was hundreds of names goes into a hat, and that would be one of them. So there, yeah.
So Kate, do you want to go in and get some pictures of Ben, or with pictures with the photo?
And God, it's a shame for to use a friend's name just to beg for the price of a job. I remember the bright April morning I left home to travel far. And it was just sad for to use a friend's name to beg for till you're dead for one
but he plays living in Germany now, Pat Cooksey. But they weren't in the buildings, yeah. The buildings were good, you know. And he wrote them, so he was English. But he's on my Facebook now, he's playing away over in Germany, yeah.
Good.
But when Pete St. John heard that song, he hadn't heard it either. You're a better little chanter, he said, no.
Always. Okay, so then we start, and will we start with the song first?
Yeah, if you want, yeah.
Give us a blast there.
In the year of our Lord 1806, we set sail from the spare coast of Carl, and we were sailing away with a cargo of bricks from the Grand City Hall of New York. Had an elegant craft, she was rigged fore and aft, and oh how the wild winds rove her. Yes, ever bless had 27 masts, and they called her the Irish Rover. They was Barney McGee from the banks of the Lee, there was Hogan from County Tyrone, and there was Patsy McGurk. He was scarce stiff at work, and the chap from Miss Mead called Malone. Now there was Slugger O'Toole, he was drunk as a rule, and Wild Bill Tracy from Dover, and your man Mick McGann from the banks of the Bann was the skipper of the Irish Rover. Now we had sailed 7 years when the measles broke out, and the ship lost its way in the fog, and this way on the crew was reduced down to 2, himself and the captain's old dog. Then the ship struck a rock, oh Lord what a shock, and it turned the boat right over, turning 9 times around, and the poor old dog was drowned. I'm the last of the Irish Rover. Well, in the year of our Lord 1806, we set sail from the spare coast of Carl, and we were sailing away with a cargo of bricks from the Grand City Hall of New York. Had an elegant craft, she was rigged fore and aft, and oh how the wild winds rove her. She had several lass, had 27 masts, and they called her the Irish Rover.
Thanks very much, Bill. So, just to start.
So song, and it's about water and about the dock life in water at the time, and the people that worked on it, including the ladies of the night. So a song called Drops of Brandy.
Now the raging sea and the rising river are peace and Waterford town, where the sailing ships caress the slips and the maidens never frown. There I met young Rancy Darrow, and her face was washed with rain, but her house was handy for drops of brandy, and I loved her all in vain. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. She said, you are a randy sailor and you're looking for a towny one. Oh, tell your lies with brandy size till your time and tide were gone. But you can't be her and you can't be wiser, and she left me with this song. Well, in Waterford town the girls don't frown till the brandy drops are gone. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. Now the raging sea and the rising river are a peace in Waterford town, where the sailing ships caress the slips and the maidens never frown. There I met young Rancy Darrow, and her face was awash with rain, but her house was handy for drops of brandy, and I loved her all in vain. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. And the rain fell like drops of brandy, and my love for her was strong. And the rain fell like drops of brandy till my time and tide were gone. Well, in Waterford town the girls don't frown
till the brandy drops are gone.
Oh,
Up.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Do you